Hello again, friends. We're back today, back with the beautiful Virus Shawl. Well, the starts of it anyway, just because I thought that yesterday's tutorial, once you sort of get to this point, if you're not 100% sure of what you're doing, you might need a little bit more assistance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another full repeat and then another example of how you do your foundation chain, just so that it kind of really I guess reinforces what we were learning yesterday. I know sometimes it takes people a little bit of time to really kind of get it, and this can be a bit of a tricky pattern if you're not 100% used to sort of exactly how we're working the stitches together. So as you can see, where I left off yesterday, I put a stitch marker on my stitch. So what I'm going to do now is just quickly unhook that, and I'll pop my hook back in. So just before I continue, one of the things that I introduced to you right at the start of our projects, I think in my very first video, was the idea of a crochet journal. And this is where a crochet journal comes into handy, just because it's somewhere where you can write down, I'm doing the Virus Shawl project. I'm using a 3.5mm hook, so you can see there. I'm using this particular kind of yarn. I'm just covering the label because this is the old label, and it has since been rebranded to Sultan. But you can write down sort of what color it is and what your lot number is, and things like that. So, you know, how the yardage and all the bits and pieces. So that's just in case if you like me and you have a project and then you put your little stitch holder into it and then you don't come back to it for 6 months because for some reason you've fallen in love with another pattern, so you've been making another pattern like crazy, or you might have picked up a commission, or somebody might have asked you, hey, can you know, my friend's having a kid, can you create a baby blanket, which is something that's just reasonably recently happened to me. So I've had to pop down all of my projects to make a baby blanket. And so it just lets you keep track of all the important things. So there's nothing worse than coming back to a project and going, so was I using a 3.5 or 3.75 or a 4, or maybe it was a 3.25 and you're not 100% sure what you're doing. So Crochet Journal takes all the guesswork out of that. Plus it also gives you a really good idea of how long it does take for you to make a project from start to finish. So if you're like powering through a project, you'll get a really good idea of, say, if you're making a Virus Shawl with 2 of these babies, it might take you a week and a half to make if, you know, you're spending all of your free time making it. So it also gives you an idea of like how well you're progressing with your skill and your speed as well. Okay, so now that we've got all of the housework taken care of, let's get started here. So remember, in each of these big spaces, there, and there, we do 10 double crochets. Or in this one, since this is the very first, we'll do a chain of 2 and then 9 double crochets. So we've got 1, 2, oh, I dropped a couple of stitches, a couple of threads there. That's the only thing you have to be careful with this yarn, is that you can drop a couple of threads. If you're used to working with this yarn like I am, you'll very easily pick up where you might have dropped a thread and you go up, dropped a thread, go back, quickly pick it up. If you're not familiar with using this thread, I really do recommend threading a bead onto your work before you start, just to keep it together. It's a lot of people use it. People who've been crocheting for years will still swear by it. It's just not something that I've found of particular use for myself, but I know a lot of people find it super, super, super handy. Anyway, so 10 double crochets, as I was saying. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and then in the next chain 3 space, we'll anchor him down, and then we'll chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then in that next chain 3 space, we'll anchor this one down, and then we'll chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then in the last chain 3 space, we will anchor him down, exactly like that. Okay, so now we're at another large crochet chain space, and we will do 10 double crochets. And once I've finished this this row, you'll be able to see the pattern take on a lot more form. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and now we've got our chain 3 spaces again. So in the first one, we anchor down, we anchor down a double crochet, then we chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then in our next chain 3 space, we anchor him down again, and then we do chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then in the next space, we anchor him down once more. Okay, so you can kind of see a little bit how she's starting to come out. So I'm just unraveling a little bit of my yarn now. So now you can see we're back at the middle. So each of these requires 10 double crochets into each of them, and you just want to leave like just a tiny little bit of space there, just so that you can kind of create that little space there. You know, if you turned up the right way, I've got it upside down for me at the moment. But if you turn it around this way, it kind of reminds me of an owl. So like owl's eyes and its little beak. But that's just me. People see all sorts of things in them. People's brains are wired for pattern recognition. So even when there's not patterns, we see them, even though obviously there is pattern in this. But we're actually wired to you know, see faces in things, or basically put something recognizable into something that's otherwise unrecognizable. So there you go, fun fact. Stick with me and I'll give you all sorts of useless facts. Not only will you learn crochet, but you'll become a pro at trivia. Okay, so in these two, we're doing 10 double crochets in each. So let's start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So because you're still in the early days of learning this sort of pattern, if you do want to go back at the end of each arch and double check that you really do have your 10 double crochets and you haven't sort of overcounted or undercounted, please, I really encourage you to go back and to count those to double check. But as you see, I count as I go. You obviously, if you're in a room with people, you can count under your breath. But a stitch marker can really come in. A stitch counter can really come in handy. I actually had a little electronic row counter, which I would stick on my finger and tap, tap, tap. But I did give that to my friend Ash because she's still a little bit new, and I thought, oh, no, you'll be able to use it more than I would ever use it. So already I think she's used it in like a week and a half. She's used it more than I've ever used it. So, you know, that was a that was a good choice on my behalf. Although now here I am stuck counting stitches and making tallies in books and whatnot. Don't be like me. Be like Ash. Be like Ash. Get a row counter. Okay, so now for our next arch, we do another 10 double crochets. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, didn't pick up a couple of those stitches there. Tricky, tricky, tricky. See? And now we go back just to double check. Yes, there are 4 on there, so we've got that. And how many stitches we're up to? 7, I thought. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, 7. 8. 9, 10. Okay, and now because we're at those little chains of 3, what we want to do is anchor this one down in our first chain of 3. Now we'll chain 3 more. 1, 2, 3, and then anchor him down in our next chain of 3. And then we count 1, 2, 3 more chain and anchor him down in our next chain space. There we go. See, now we're getting a bit more shape here. We're starting to look a bit more Virus Shawl-y. Okay, and since we're at our next big space, we need to do 10 double crochets. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9, and 10. And since we've hit 10, you know what that means. We're at our little chains of 3. So in the first chain of 3, we anchor him down. And then we do a chain of 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Anchor him down. And once again, a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. And anchor him down. Alright, now we're in our last big chain space. So we want to try and finish our crochets at about here. So about the height of a double crochet. and we need to put 10 double crochets into the space. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so we finish them off with a good amount of space, but the beauty of actually working on, I guess, on chain is that you can move the stitches around as you please. So let's look, we can make it like if we push the stitches down, see, we can make them pushed into less space, or we can like space them out a little bit more, which is exactly what we want. Perfect. So that's our next row done. Now we'll flip our work. If you just heard a little bit of noise come in, that was just Johan coming into the room. Not doing anything particular, just wants to see what I'm up to. As he's a black cat, he takes his duty of being a shadow a little bit too seriously some days, I think. Okay, so now for our next row. Remember, the next row is the same as the first row. Almost exactly the same as the first row. We want to put 1 double crochet in the top of every single one of our double crochets all the way around. So let's start by doing a chain 2, which will count as our first double crochet. This is the row where we don't have to think so much. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And you know what reaching 10 means? It means that in our next chain 3 space, we anchor him down. Then we do a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we anchor him down in our next chain 3 space. Since we've run out of chain 3 spaces, it's time to start back with our double crochets again. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, okay, so this was 5. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Since we've reached the end of our 10 double crochets, that means we need to anchor him down in the next chain 3 space. And because we've got another chain 3 space there, we need to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and anchor him down as well. Okay, so now remember we've reached the top, so we need to do a double crochet in each of these. So you can count it as 2 lots of 10, or you can just count it as 20. Whatever's easiest for you, whatever works the best for you. I like to count into 2 lots of 10 just to make sure that I am hitting that exact middle of my 10th stitch. Okay, so let's get started. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I dropped 1 thread there. Let's see if I can hook him out. Haha, success. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I need to be not in such a hurry, and then I won't stop dropping the threads. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's our first 10, and we are perfectly in the middle. So our count's exactly on. Now we need to do our last 10. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And because we finished our 10 at the end of an arch, you know what that means. It's anchor time. Anchor him here, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then anchor him here. Okay. So we're getting even more of a look of how this pattern does progress. And it does get a lot easier and a lot faster as you go. One of my commenters, Julie, wanted to know if having a red hook made me crochet faster, which I thought was pretty funny. Now, the reason why I have the red hook is it is a Julep Etimo hook. It is the most comfortable ergonomic hook I've ever come across, and I've tried metal, plastic, bamboo. I've tried half a dozen other different ergonomic hooks. Anyone who's come to my house can attest that I literally have a bundle of hooks about that wide that I've just bundled all together because I just don't use them anymore. I got one of these hooks and then immediately replaced my entire collection with these hooks, just because I find they're soft but not too soft, firm but not too firm, and they fit nicely in your hand if you have a small hand. So there's an answer to that question. Okay, so now we've got 10 more double crochets to do. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And because we finished an arch, it's time to anchor into our chain 3. Then because we've got another chain 3, we do another chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and anchor him down there. And that'll serve as our last anchoring point for our final row. Okay, and then we're up to our very last arch. So let's do our 10 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the 10th one just into the top of our chain. Okay, so we're now on the last row of the virus repeat. So remember, this one is a double crochet and then a chain 1, okay? So in our first one, we'll do a chain of 3, which counts as our double crochet chain 1. Then in the top of our next stitch, double crochet, chain 1. Next stitch, double crochet, chain 1. And the next, double crochet, chain 1. So doing the double crochet chain 1, it just makes sure that there's a little bit of space so that we can actually grow the pattern. Otherwise everything is going to be jammed on top of each other, and you know, if you've done any other patterns, you'll know that you do need to do increases from time to time just to make sure that the pattern can grow properly without cupping or wrinkling or any of the other problems that you get with circular or semicircular crocheted shapes. On my TikTok, which is Cass's Crochet, so it's CASSS Crochet at TikTok, you'll see that I've done 2 60-second tutorials on how to do an increase and how to do a decrease. Okay, so we've reached all the way to the end. So the last double crochet here does not need a chain because we anchor him down. Okay, now let's get on to our next arc, which is, you guessed it, double crochet, chain 1. So we've got 1, 2, oh, dropped a thread there, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And remember, 10th one, we don't need the additional single crochet because we anchor this baby down. Right, now we're back up the top. So it's a double crochet chain 1 all the way across. So let's get started because this is a bit of a long one. Okay, so go 1. Oh, lost some thread there. It's all right. Just undo it and do it again. 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We just double check, still dead center. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, just had to loosen a little thread, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Remember, the last one doesn't need an additional single crochet because we anchor him down. Okay, do my lots to go. Okay, so got 1 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet, chain 1, 4 double crochet, chain 1, 5 double crochet, chain 1, 6 double crochet, chain 1, 7 double crochet, chain 1, 8 double crochet, chain 1, 9 double crochet, chain 1, and then 10. 10th one doesn't need the chain 1 because he's an anchor. And there he goes, anchoring it down. All right, so now we've got our last arch, and then I can show you how to build the chain for the next one. And you'll see it's exactly the same as the last one, but it'll give you a better idea of exactly how it works. Okay, so 1, oh, a little bit tight there. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just into the top of the chain. Am I in the top of the chain? No, I'm not in the top of the chain. There we go. Now I'm in the top of the chain. And then we don't need to do a chain 1 on that either. There we go. So we've got our foundation row, and then our first row of virus, and then our second row of virus. Now let me show you how to build our third row of virus. So, do you remember the count on this one? the very first arch. There we go, arch. The very first arch that we build is 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and done. We anchor him in our second chain space. Just have to be careful not to grab any of your other threads, that's all. Okay, and then we do 3 lots of chain 3. So we go 1, 2, 3, skip a chain space, anchor him down. 1, 2, 3, skip a chain space, anchor him down. 1, 2, 3, skip a chain space, anchor him down. Okay, now we're looking at the first, the first new arch, which is directly in between the other 2 existing arches, and we do these with a chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we skip 1, 2, 3, 4, chain him down in the 5th. Okay, so we'll see that one will always look like a straight line across, but as you can see, it doesn't end up as a straight line. Okay, so just while you're building the foundation, it'll look like a straight line. That's fine. All right, now we do our 3 sets of chain 3. 1, 2, 3, skip a space, anchor him down. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, I dropped a stitch there. You don't want to be dropping stitches. Skip a space, anchor him down. And then once more, 1, 2, 3, skip a space, anchor him down. And now we're at the space between 2 arches, so that means a chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and then we count 1, 2, 3, 4, and anchor him in that 5th space. Okay, now because we just finished an archway foundation, we're going to do 3 chains of 3. So 1, 2, 3, skip a space, anchor him down. 1, 2, 3, skip a space, and anchor. 1, 2, 3, skip a space, and anchor. Now if you'll have a look, you'll see we're right in the middle. Now the middle is works similar to our little side arches in that we do a chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Skip a space, anchor him down. Okay, now from that same anchoring point, we're going to do another chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Skip a space and anchor. Okay, so I'm just going to put that down for a second, just so you can see now how that's working. See? So we do the chain of 7, anchor in the middle, chain of 7. Chain of 7, anchor in the middle, chain of 7. See? And you'll see where it's just anchored, it's like pulled off to the side, but that doesn't matter. But that's where that kind of owl / spooky skull / skeleton / whatever your imagination makes it out to be, that's where the little face goes. And those are his 2 eyes. Okay, Anyway, since we've finished building the foundation for an arch, it's 3 chains of 3. We've got 1, oh, and just completely lose all of our yarn. So just very carefully grab that back. So 1, 2, 3, skip 1, anchor, 1, 2, 3, skip 1, anchor, and then 1, 2, 3, skip 1, anchor. We've done our 3 chains of 3. Oh, try saying 3 chains of 3 really fast, like 33 times. And then because we're at where we're building an arch, it's a chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So building an arch is always a chain of 7. So we skip 1, 2 on this side, and then 3, 4, and then anchor him into the 5th one. Finished our arch. So we're 3 chains of 3. 1, 2, 3, skip space and anchor. Did I drop a thread there? I did. So silly. Let's pick that chain back up. All right, and let's re-anchor him down. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh. Don't know what's happening with me this afternoon. You know what? Instead of going all the way back, I'm just going to pull that thread so it's a really big loop. And now I'll just tighten it onto the hook. So we skip a space and anchor, and then we do it once more. 1, 2, 3, skip a space and anchor. Oh my gosh, no hiccups this time. Always exciting. And then since we're on our last arch that we're building, doing a chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we remember, skip 2 on this side, and then 2 on the next side, and then anchor him down in the next one. Since we've just anchored an arch, we're doing 3 chains of 3. 1, 2, 3, skip a space, anchor. 1, 2, 3, skip a space and anchor. 1, 2, 3, skip a space and anchor. Since we're on the very last one, we're doing I know sometimes this last one can be a little bit tricky to remember, but you'll get the hang of it, trust me. We're doing a chain of 7. 1, 2, maybe we'll do a chain of 7. There we go. Stop dropping the thread, crazy girl. Okay, chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're doing a double crochet into our chain here. Okay, so the reason why we do the double crochet is so that our yarn is basically in the exact spot we need it to start our double crochet, or our chain, I guess, instead of double crochet, to start off the next one. It's basically just to ensure that all the way along we've got those spaces, because basically the play between spaces and filled in areas is what the virus is all about. So there's another repetition of that. Let me clip my yarn, my stitch holder in here before I have any more disasters and end up pulling the whole thing out. There we go, nice and tight. Look at that. Nice and tight. I can pull on this really tight and it will never come undone. That's why you want a yarn holder. That's why you need your stitch markers. You can pull on this as tight as you want and she ain't coming undone. So pets, husbands, boyfriends, children, anything, you got your stitch marker there. It's going to make it a whole lot more difficult for them to pull your work apart. So there we go. Here's me showing you the third row of the Virus Stitch for a shawl. Personally, I love shawls. I love them in cotton, especially in summer. I live in Brisbane, so it gets super duper hot here, but just over like a really light summer dress, just a nice little shawl over your shoulders just dresses it up a little bit. Plus sometimes it can get a little chilly at night, so it's just that nice little extra bit of warmth, extra bit of style, extra bit of fanciness, and then people go, oh my god, that looks so amazing, and then you can say, thank you so much, I made it, it was so much hard work. And then on the inside you'll be smiling to yourself going, but not really, because I'm really good at crochet. Because you know what, if you can get this down, if you can get down your chains, your double crochets, you can follow a pattern, you are really good at crochet. So that's my top tip for the day. If you can follow a pattern, if you can follow stitches that someone's put online, if you can follow something that someone's showing you in person, if you can follow it, you can do it. And I think that you're awesome. So I hope you really enjoyed this one. And if you do have any questions, please let me know. Pop them down in the comments below, or jump over to my TikTok, which is Cass's Crochet, so CASSS Crochet. And because I'm active on there all day and answer questions constantly. So I hope to see you soon. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Bye.